Okay, so here's the plan for today. We're going to talk about BC before COVID. In the time before COVID, we're going to look at before COVID and where we are now, and just bounce back and forth between how people used to work and how people are working now. And just to get us into the right frame of mind, we all need a little bit of Wayne's World. So that's one of two movie references that we'll go with today. So Jermaine, what's the first thing back before COVID that we were seeing?
All right, and that's a great question. And what I would want to start with, we're going to be more of me airing my grievances today around the technology that I'd like to see gone forever, and hopefully the way forward for our clients and our prospective clients and anyone out there that's interested in moving forward. I would want people to stop using VPN. Before COVID, it's all VPN. You're trying to connect in every day, spend time going through it. And what I love the most about our computers and everything that we use today is that it's the ambiguity surrounding an error, as an example. And when we go through and we look at this, it's like, could you imagine? It's like here's connection attempt has failed due to the network or the PC. So it's basically holistically blamed two items in your entire network that now nobody has an understanding of how you can fix it. Like you're trying to connect this, remove files, add this, access files to VPN. It's such a time suck and a waste of life and space. And I would want to see that in the post-COVID or the during COVID or wherever we end up at the end of this week, that this is no longer a problem for people.
Yeah, and so many companies have companies, nonprofits have moved beyond VPN, right? We're seeing, here's the trend. When we want to access documents, this is a screenshot I took yesterday. We go into Microsoft Word. I was at home at the time, like I am right now, and I just go file, open, and then I pick whatever document that I want to pull up, and then we just open it. And it's a secure connection. Security is managed in a different way. Files aren't on a file server; they're on Sharepoint, which we'll talk about a little bit in a minute. But this is part of that digital transformation. People are moving away from using VPN connections and being kind of slave to the on-premise servers and having to connect into the office when they're working remotely. So let's go for number 2, Jermaine. What was happening BC? What else was happening BC?
BC. If you've ever, like me, worked in one of those places where you actually had filing cabinets in a closet somewhere, and somebody would be like, "Hey, Jermaine, we need a specimen 32894," and then you go in and you check the file jackets and you open drawers that are labeled from 300 to 400 to 500 and onwards, and then you find the file, right? Like somebody had to spend time doing that. I feel like before COVID, people were still doing that, searching around for files everywhere. And they weren't just doing it in those cabinets, they were doing it online in their computers and searching for things everywhere. And that's a big problem because you waste so much time a day going, hey, do you know where the file is? No. Do you know where the file is? No. Well, I'm going to go spend another 20 minutes. Can you email me that file for the upcoming project? Sure. Give me 35 minutes. I'll be right with you. It's a big problem, right? And I think that's how people have been functioning.
Yeah. So since in the last year and a half, there's been a ton of people who moved to SharePoint, and they moved. We had a webinar, a SharePoint 101 and a SharePoint 201 webinar. They're both on demand. Talked about how much easier it is to find files. The search function, whether you use it on the web, whether you use it within Microsoft Word, whether you use it within Excel. If you're not using that, you're missing out on an opportunity to save a boatload of time, because we all spend so much time, or we used to spend so much more time looking for files, but with the search functionality that is in the Microsoft 365 suite, it just seems, Jermaine, I've just found it in the last kind of couple of years, it's just way easier to find stuff. Like I don't spend good parts of my day or week looking for things.
And to point out, I mean, looking at what just the screen that you have up right now, you can see that there's a frequent sites place, so the places you live the most often. You've got a nifty, simple one page to view. There's a little see all button that can take you anywhere else that you want to go. But even the search bar and everything's just conveniently placed. If you wanted to have news feeds, everything's across the top for your organization. And then wherever your files are linked to those teams or groups within your organization, whether it's finance, management, or otherwise, everything's there. You can pin those sites, click on it, and the files are all in the place it needs to be. Right now, not to make it sound too easy, but of course, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have a good filing system and a good team construction system within your organization, then you're still going to find some challenges around navigating, but that's stuff we can fix. And we've seen people fix here in the future.
Yeah. So when we've helped a couple of professional services firms really kind of migrate and move to SharePoint and cut out, like they were dealing with version control issues where they had a whole bunch of different versions and they were saving multiple versions of a document so that just in case somebody made changes, they could go back to a previous version or something from a client previous. Just got rid of all that stuff and used the file management, the version control within SharePoint, and it really is like it's a much more modern way to deal with file management, and it just saves. If you haven't done it, you haven't used it, it just saves a boatload of time.
Yeah, and before we go off, I mean, this one's a big one, right? Deals with so many different aspects. We have one of our construction company clients that work, their entire challenge was finding the right document because nobody knew who had the correct permits for the building sites. Nobody knew who had the most recent color palette for the building site. Nobody knew where the location of the next site visits were supposed to be. And because so many of those files were being translated around, and at the end of the day, coming in and saying, this is version revision 222 of the file that was created a week ago, that's frustrating, right? It's very frustrating. So I can't put enough emphasis on that. And thankfully, I believe we've helped that organization move forward with working better. So
absolutely. And so we're gearing our content today. We're trying to give you examples. So whether you're a member of a team or you're technology decision maker, what we want to do is show kind of then and now, pre-COVID, what I'd love to say post-COVID. Let's just kind of enter a world, just a fun world for a minute, and just say COVID's over. But the post-COVID type of technology. And so if we go through these examples, if there's parts where you're not there yet in terms of digital transformation, then this should give you some ideas of stuff to work on, which is our goal today. And we're trying to give you enough meat and enough detail while covering a lot of ground that you find this half an hour valuable for you. So let's go on to our next BC item.
All right. Remember when your phone lines, to do a change out, you'd have all these massive phones in your office. Some people might still have some phones that look like this one. I know that I worked on that when I was an up and comer, young, getting started in the job world. I had a phone that looked exactly like that. I had labels on it and I just paste over the previous extension to whoever it got moved to or otherwise. And then I'd put my voicemail password on it because, again, who's going to remember 4 digits? That's 1111 for your voicemail password. Right? And it even has that nifty cushion on the side so that you can put your phone on your shoulder and rest it comfortably as you talk, right?
Well, chiropractors have to give business somehow, right?
Don't get me started. So I don't know where that came from, but we'll talk about that a little more offline. But that's the pre-COVID scenario, right?
Phones so pre-COVID, and we all had that experience of calling somebody and hearing from the person answering the phone, oh, no, they're not in the office, they're working remote. I can email them or I can let them know that you called. Versus here's where people are going. Phones work everywhere. Your phone system works everywhere. It travels with you with your mobile phone. It travels with you with your computer. It allows you to access your voicemail, get voicemail over your email. If an incoming call and you're sitting, I guess, down by the beach, or you're working it from home, or say you're even working up at the cottage or something crazy like that. You're able to answer your phone. Somebody should be able to transfer a call to you just as if you were in the office.
Yeah, friend of mine, Samir. His name's Samir. He when COVID started, he was like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" He's in sales, and he then his girlfriend lives abroad, and she works out of a nice, beautiful Caribbean island, and he was like, "You know what? What am I gonna do here? Because we travel back and forth. We're doing a long distance thing, and once COVID hit, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, work from anywhere. You can do your job as long as you have a great internet connection and you're available." This guy moves to the Caribbean, and he's like, every weekend he's posting in our joint chat, "Oh, this at the beach and that at the beach, and I'm on this boat." And I'm like, man. And he's doing his entire job there, no issues, no challenges, and he's living in this beautiful, warm country. As which, pretty soon we're heading into fall as of 3 p.m. today, and we're gonna get into that nice sweater weather, and then winter jacket weather, and he's gonna still be down there because of this diversification around how we work today and access across the world, right?
Yeah, we had a law office that we work with that was struggling with phone systems. They went to working remote, and all of a sudden, phone systems became a big deal, right? People were trying to get a hold of their lawyers, and nobody could call in directly to lawyers. The receptionist couldn't transfer calls, and it just wasn't very good client service. So we moved them to Teams and Teams Voice. And not only did it fix the phone system problem, but it also reduced the number of applications they were using, right? Because it just put the phone system right within Teams, and they were already using Teams. And we're seeing great success. We've been using Teams Voice for kind of since, what, Jermaine, probably a year and a half at least, right?
Two
Two
September made
years.
it 2 years, yeah.
My whole time in COVID time is totally off. But we've been using it for a couple of years, and we've now moved a whole whack of clients over to it. And people are seeing a ton of value and really like that. And, it's kind of fun. You get to eliminate a telecom and not have to deal with the telecom anymore, which is something a lot of people kind of like.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right. So we alluded to this a little bit before. Let's talk about the next BC item.
So this one, cybersecurity, just annoying, really. I mean, talking about cybersecurity before COVID was all about, well, Jermaine, nobody wants to hack me. I haven't got anything special in our organization. We're helping people and dealing with charities and donating education to children. Nobody wants to hack us. Why? This is so annoying. I don't want to turn on two-factor authentication or add strong passwords. Jermaine, 10 digits in a password. Oh, so annoying. Can I just keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That's before COVID, right?
This seems to be quite therapeutic for you.
It is. It's even better in the actual webinar versus the rehearsal. So it's good.
So we saw since COVID and post COVID, and for anybody that joined us late, we're using BC as before COVID. That's our acronym of the day. We've just seen, we've gone from cybersecurity was always important, but it's just kind of escalated to a crazy level where the risk level, this is now a C-suite type of issue. And the folks that are dealing with cybersecurity the best are the people that are looking at it and saying, okay, we need a roadmap and we need a continual approach. The old way of doing cybersecurity was you just do some stuff like put in multi-factor authentication or say, I've got antivirus, I got a firewall, I'm okay. Well, the world's moving too fast. So we're taking our clients through cybersecurity level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and progressing them along the journey. And everybody's at a different place on the journey, and that's completely okay. But this is a C-suite issue. And this is something, and not only is it an executive level issue, but it's also like everybody. I know there's a bunch of people on Teams from our different clients that are on this call, and everybody needs to be conscious that
Yeah,
it's your responsibility to help secure your company, right?
absolutely.
Making sure that you don't click on that email, making sure that, you're okay with having that two-factor authentication and approving a login on
Yeah.
your device, because we need you to understand how important that is to do, because that keeps the bad guys out.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's a company business level strategy document. Okay. You make a plan for how much revenue you want to generate. You make a plan for how much sales you want to do in a year. You make a plan for how many employees you're going to have. You have an employee care plan. All of this stuff goes through development of a roadmap where you plan and get through that and sort it out. And then at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have that for all parts of your organization. And the one thing that can take and put a business completely out of commission is a cyber attack, right? So you want to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about this more in our webinar next month as part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're seeing questions coming in through the Q&A panel already, which is great. So keep going, keep bringing, keep adding questions into that Q&A panel, and we'll answer them right at the end. So on to our next.
Great. This one's
our
a good
next one.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I feel like we loaded this entire webinar up with stuff that I just want to talk about. In my past life, I was in dealing with, saving and preserving the environment for the future, our kids and their kids and the like. And one of the things that we don't think about is that people just attach stuff to emails and send it off, even if nobody's going to read it. And there's tons and tons and tons of email attachments going right now. From an environmental impact, if you think about the amount of cable and electricity and power and internet bytes and bits that need to transmit that data from point A to point B so that nobody reads it, right? You can equate it to a passenger car that travels an average of 1,093 miles, not kilometers. So you're looking at about 2,500 kilometers when you translate that into kilometers, and it's just unread email attachments. So what do? Stop attaching things, right?
Yeah, you don't need to attach emails anymore, particularly internal in a company. You don't need to attach files to emails, I should say. And so we have a rule in our company: you're not allowed to attach a file to an email, because it's not just kind of an ideological thing. It wastes so much time. It just, if you're emailing an attachment internally, then I get that attachment. I don't know if it's the latest version. If I make changes, I've got to email them back as opposed to just making them in the document. Yeah. I don't know if somebody else has made some changes. Maybe they've already picked up the issue or the edits that I found.
Great.
And you can just send a link, and then everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, sending an email in our organization with an attachment on it is equivalent to a demerit point coming off of your driver's license.
Right? So this is a big kind of digital transformation. This is an adoption point. So if you're seeing in your organization people still emailing attachments as opposed to links, we're going to have a point like 5 years from now, we're all going to look back and say, wow, we used to email attachments. That's silly. Like, that was such a waste of time. I can't believe we did that. But it's kind of weird to change because we've done this for so long, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Have we beaten up that point enough? I think so.
I think I'd like to go on to the next one. So, I mean, not that I'm 100% or totally opposed to this, because I do remember having a phone call a little while before COVID. I was in France and Brendan was in Toronto, and we were having a check-in and following up on a couple of client-related stuff that we needed to work out. So, it's not a completely lost art here, but collaborating by phone and email is good. Now, at that point, I was like, checking my mobile phone and doing long distance calls and the like. Today, I wouldn't advise that. Like, we don't want to be these two guys holding briefcases and the like, and having a conversation via a telephone with a cable.
Yeah, there's a cable that's not even a cordless phone. Like, how? That's.
I don't think those existed when this picture was drawn, but yeah. But yeah, with that in mind, like the guy's got a cell phone there, he's doing his thing. But I mean, it's one of the ways that we communicated in the past. Hey Jerry, I'll call you at 2 o'clock, whatever time, and we go from there. But there's a
Yeah.
better
So,
way today to do it.
well, we've moved into this world of using Teams to collaborate, right? And we have people are not just using Teams for online meetings. It's having your files, it's messaging back and forth, it's collaboration. It's using things like Microsoft Booking so that there aren't emails going back and forth to figure out people's availability. It's using Planner, and not needing to have super advanced project management software, but have a straightforward way that you can manage an initiative or manage a prospect or a project, and use it in Planner, either web version or Teams.
Yeah, already
All right,
built in, ready to go.
I think we need to do some quick hits here. Let's
Absolutely.
let's go through some more. So, what else was happening, BC?
BC. So I alluded to this and kind of foreshadowed this was coming. Me in that closet searching for files in the filing cabinet, people printing stuff, and you've got tons and tons of paper and the Xerox shipments coming in every 3 weeks because you're printing so much stuff. Where does it go? What do you do? Save the trees. Get rid of printers.
Yeah. Are people using printers these days like they used to?
Definitely not me.
No, like some people are having a little office space party, and they're getting rid of their printers. They're moving to, instead of printing things out and signing them, we're moving into Microsoft approvals using there's Adobe products, there's DocuSign. We've all figured out how to sign things. The bank, and in some cases the government, not always, but the banks and the governments are starting to get more open to actually digital signatures as opposed to the old way of doing things.
Yeah, can you imagine? You needed a scanner, a printer, and a pen to do the old way of signing a document. And then when you scan it, it came out in black and white with smudges everywhere and lines from the glass. But that was somehow more acceptable than a full color document with a digital signature attached. Who knows? But that was, before COVID, and probably will continue forever unless we make some strong changes out there.
And here's another trend that we're seeing since before COVID to now. So it used to be this, right?
Where's the file? On the server. No, but I mean literally where? No, it's physically on the server. We printed it out earlier today.
Yeah, people had these rooms filled with like lots of gear and cables and
Noodle House. 50% of our client base, and I verified this number and I'm sure about it, have no servers anymore. Right? I remember when it was all of them had servers, and now we're 50% through our client base and only 50% had servers. Right?
So if you still have on-premise servers in your business, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't, but it means you should be asking, where is that in the roadmap? Is there an application on this server? Is there a service that's being used? Like, we're still coming across people that are hosting their own email servers.
Yeah.
Which there's services like that just don't make sense to run your own infrastructure.
Right. Infrastructure wise, change wise, licensing wise, everything, security wise, just doesn't make sense to do. And then, of course, those tasks that we depend on ourselves to do because we don't think there's any other way or better way to do it. Pre-COVID, right? I feel a little bit like this guy, just kind of going through. He doesn't even have a tape gun. Like, there's no tape gun. There's nothing to cut it with. And look how happy he is in working on that production line, right? Like, who wants to be doing that, right?
He's gonna quit his job. We're all worried about turnover this fall. He's gonna quit his job because that manual repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
We're seeing, I'll use our company as an example here. We're seeing lots of ways that you can take manual repetitive tasks and automate them. Right? With the simple example, using Microsoft Forms for we need to do screening. I know everybody's seen these kind of screening forms and stuff like that, but a couple additions to it. Number one, really easy way for people to do this, whether it's on a mobile phone or we set it up with a QR code. But the automation part of this is the even more interesting thing. If anybody answers yes to one of the questions, it triggers an immediate note and alert that goes out to multiple people on our safety team, so that we know right away if anybody's failed a screening. We're seeing businesses use Microsoft Shifts, so moving away from emailing around shifts. Even folks are using this as a way of saying, hey, we've got 30 spots in the office, 30 desks, and we've got 40 people working. So if you want a desk, you need to book in a desk. So this is a way that you can get some automation in there. So I jumped ahead a little bit quick. That was number 10, and I think we've got just one other way that we want to wrap it up, and hopefully we've given folks some ideas. So with this digital transformation, the big question is, how do you keep up with how quickly technology is changing? How do you know what you should be doing, and how do you deal with things?
Well, I mean, just because we're completely going through this webinar here today, we might as well make a call out to, well, a good way to do it is not necessarily only Techify webinars, but you should keep yourself appraised and up to date with webinars that apply to your organization, that apply to the tools that you use, that apply to the industry that you work in. Because then at that point, you can pick and choose topics that make sense for your organization, but attend some webinars, keep up to date, and keep open to the information that's coming out. And a good way to do that is we know we're sick of webinars, but attend a few webinars that are really important or impactful for your organization.
Yeah, and I just add, technology changes fast, but it doesn't change that fast. We can see it coming. We see, we get, there's ways to keep up. So yeah, we do these webinars to help people keep up, whether you're clients, friends, colleagues, whatever it may be. We do these webinars, and it'll give you a good sense of where technology is going. We post stuff on our social media feeds. So if you're not following us on LinkedIn, we do a little bit of Facebook stuff, YouTube. We have a monthly newsletter that summarizes all this sort of stuff, and it goes out to our clients, and it goes out to those that have given us permission to email them on a regular basis, and just kind of summarizes what we're seeing, what we're seeing, trends, that sort of stuff, so you can keep up that way. Another way that's super important, I'd say two other things that you have to have in place. Number one is a proactive process that's continually evaluating your technology against best practices, and then taking that and turning it into a roadmap. So we've got core technology roadmaps that we talk to folks, and Jermaine, you do a lot of work with our clients and kind of guiding them through our 3 roadmaps, right?
Yeah, we do. And with that, again, like with the same as a technology roadmap, same as a business plan, same as a cybersecurity roadmap, you've got to have a plan in place and an agenda to get from where you are today to where you'd like to be, and a process in between the two to continually check against that and make sure that you know where you always are currently. Because without a review and alignment process to see where you are currently, you don't know where you are, so you don't know where you're going. It's a bit of a challenge to do that, and you have to have some form of cadence in place that continues to push that forward. And it works as well from a productivity and efficiency standpoint. As an example, in our vertical as managed services providers, we have lots of peers that we communicate with and work with that own other companies, and in their organizations, they've got about 20% more people doing the same things that our team's comfortably doing. And from an efficiency perspective, it's because of where they are with their technology and their alignment. And some of that working through it is that it's just a transformation. Everybody's going through it, right? Including the people that are managing those environments. So it's important, very important to have.
Yeah, and if you take an approach, you think about it as levels, and we start people on the collaboration front, right? It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the first thing to focus in on, And then we talk about building efficiency. Then you need to drive some better business intelligence and get the data with what's happening with your workflows and your business. And then you can really start to automate those processes. And look, we're all going to struggle in the coming months with finding good people. Everybody's hiring right now. Everybody's looking for people. So it's a challenge to find good people. So if we can use technology and not need as many people, or if we can use technology to make people more productive and happier and efficient in their jobs and give them better tools so they enjoy where they're working better, I think it's a huge opportunity.
Awesome. Well, I think at this point, Brendan, we should open it up to questions.
Yeah, we will open it just before we open the questions. So again, just a reminder, pop into the Q&A panel, see some questions there already. If you have any questions that have come up, if you want us to dive in a little bit deeper into anything that we've kind of touched on as we've gone through, please post a note in there. You will get a survey when you log off. The surveys that we send out, we read all the answers, we agree with some of them, and we use all that feedback in order to make better webinars for next time and continue to improve. As you may have heard me speak about before, one of our core values is growth mindset. So we're always looking for feedback and we're always looking to improve. And it'd be great to get feedback on what people want to know about from a cybersecurity perspective as part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. When we do our next webinar, we'll give some detailed things that a little briefcase you can take away, a digital briefcase that you can take away with 5 things you can do to prevent the risk of being hacked. This is my contact information, Jermaine's contact information. Feel free to reach out should you have any questions. And Jermaine, let's get into answering questions. Let's
Great. My favorite part of the webinar, question answer side.
It's question time. Okay, our first question, Jermaine, if everything is on the cloud, what happens when there are technical issues such as the internet is down? We've got a couple. I think we've got a couple questions kind of within this. So let me split this up. Everything's on the cloud. Jermaine, what happens when the internet goes
down? You connect via your phone to access it. The cloud is still up there. So if you get a weather report that says there isn't a cloud in the sky, don't worry, your cloud is still up there. It's not the same thing. But if the internet goes down, there are multiple ways that you can do it, right? First, if you're working through your Outlook, you have offline mode where you can continue to create your emails and everything. People have done it for years. Queue up all your emails while you're on the plane, and when you land and you get connectivity, boom, 37 emails go out, you've done your work. The other portion of that is, in this day and age, your mobile phone is your friend. You can tether your connectivity via your mobile phone to your computer to work, or you work straight off of your mobile phone or tablet. Like, there's always going to be some form of access if your primary internet goes down.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about legal obligations? You've got stuff in the cloud?
Yeah, there's lots of that going around, right? We on a regular basis for our construction and design companies who are looking to do bids for other projects and the like, they have very detailed requirements for how data is managed and how data is protected. Some of them have computers that are air gapped, which means they never ever connect or touch to a network or connect to the internet. And in those different levels, if you are working in an organization that has or requires that, you would obviously have tiers of what's available and can be put into the cloud. And from a protection perspective, the cloud is actually more safe than it is keeping a server with a locked cabinet on premise for a number of reasons. One, legal obligations pertaining to how long you need to keep data is important. Somebody sets your server on fire, all of a sudden your stuff's down. So your backup's broken, your backup has to be off-site. In some of those legal obligations, you must have an X amount of uptime related to your support of that environment. And if your off-site data backup is broken and your on-site's gone, then all of a sudden you're in trouble. So there's lots of ways you can look at that. What I would say is, based on Leslie's question, what I would say is, if we were to look at and say, what are the legal obligations that your organization has requirements for, then we can more specifically provide information related to that and how you can meet those obligations in the cloud.
Yeah. So hopefully that answered Leslie's question. Jim had a question about specific applications. It's one that we get quite a bit. It's like, yeah. Okay, so you want us to move everything in the cloud and it's efficient and faster and et cetera, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. But we have some old applications. So we can't really move to the cloud. How do you deal with that?
Number of ways. If you've got an old application that only runs, say, on Windows Server 2003, okay, server in your office or on premise is still just a computer box that has a virtual machine sitting on it. Not to get technical here, okay, virtual machine sitting on it that has the application running, okay. That same virtual machine in version 2003 Windows or whatever it's on, well, even if it's Linux, can be put into a cloud hosted environment, and that server can still run and have access to it. So regardless of what you're doing, the processing power and the storage that is required to run the application can still be put into the cloud, and you still don't need to commit to an office space or a physical server on site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, it's funny when I talk to people that ask that question about old applications. It's like they feel, not embarrassed isn't the right word. It's like, oh, well, we're unique. We have this old application that the developer hasn't really updated for quite a while and it won't work in the cloud and stuff like that. That's like everybody. Like we come across businesses every single day that have applications they've relied on for years that they need to figure out a way of either cloud hosting them, backing them up better, creating business continuity plans for them, or gradually moving away from them. That's technology. We see that all the time. Okay, let's keep moving because I see a couple new questions have popped in, and especially one I really want to get to David's question.
Good.
I'm calling dibs on that question.
Fine.
But we can go. Let's go to the next one, Jermaine.
Okay, so Indu, thank you for submitting that. So if I have several documents from several SharePoint locations to attach to my email, how can I do that? Oh, this is a beautiful question, Indu. Thank you for asking. So this is safe, simple. If you're gonna send an email, you go to the attach document button, but instead of attaching document, you click on the send attach link or embed link. And you can embed as many link locations in wherever it is in your SharePoint, because there's this continuity framework within Microsoft that says common use data is something that's very important in Microsoft, right? So it doesn't matter where it's located structurally within your SharePoint site, visually to you, all of that data has a common location and thread. So regardless of which site it's on and what you're doing, you can just right click on that document and get the sharing link and put it in the email, and you can do that for as many of them as you like. Matter of fact, I would even encourage you to say, if this is a special project that you're working with someone on, I would say create a folder and dump as many documents as you want into that folder, and then share via one link access to that folder. So then now the person has access to every file. They can edit, they can do what's necessary, they can even upload stuff, and the two of you can collaborate with one single link, but 100 files in the folder.
So what the question, how I'm taking that question is that sort of the next step in kind of transformation, going from attaching files to email to sending links. Then you go beyond that. If you want to go further, then you start creating Teams workspaces, right? And you just get rid of email altogether. Like we all get way too much email. Like who doesn't hate email now, right? So what if we just in Teams created a workspace?
Yeah.
And instead of sharing documents, we added to the tabs. So we created a new team. We said, here are the 10 people we're working with on this project. And either we started saving documents right within Teams there, or we create tabs that link to the different SharePoint locations. So people can just access those documents, or you can post those documents right within that channel, so that people have the access and it's there, and it's not there for 5 minutes until it moves off our screen and email. It's there the whole time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have it there as a resource. All right, should we get to David's question?
Absolutely.
All right, so since I called dibs on this one, I'm gonna take it, and there's a reason that this excites me. So David's question: has there been any movement since BC towards cloud-hosted employee workstation or virtual machines and lower cost hardware? So the answer is yes, and I'll go further. So what we actually have within our office, we're doing some great testing on Windows Virtual Desktop right now. So Microsoft spent a bunch of time and is trying to address this same question. And so there's a lot of folks that are working in an environment where they need higher powered computers. And so those higher power computers may be resting at the office. Maybe they need temporary computing power. They don't want to buy $3,000 machines for everybody all the time. Maybe they have sort of single use, like we need to use AutoCAD or we use Creative Suite, and use sort of bigger applications like that, but we don't need to use it all the time. It's just like every once in a while. So Windows has spun up Windows Virtual Desktop, and it's a vast improvement from people who've gotten used to what was terminal services, moved to remote desktop services, and now there's been a lot of progress in the virtual desktop world that you can spin up cloud-based instances of computers and give them as much power as you need. And then to David's question, whether like you could connect through to from a Mac, you can connect from an iPad, you can connect from a Chromebook, you can connect from your computer, and then you're connecting in, and then you're using that power of the cloud. And then because it's a cloud-based PC or cloud-based terminal or cloud-based computer, you can decide to just run it an hour a day, or you can run it 8 hours a day, or you can run it 24 hours a day, and just do it based on consumption and use the power of cloud-based computing so that it's like the electricity grid. You're only actually paying for computing when you're using it or when you need it. And as long as you remember to turn the lights out, you don't have to pay for the unused computing power that you have available to. So I hope, David, that answers your question. We're starting to do some, Jermaine, you're starting to have some conversations with people about doing some tests with Windows Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. And one part of David's question, I want to make sure I draw the parallel/caution to. This overall system does not lower costs by any means. You can definitely have lower cost hardware to access that virtual machine, but the processing power and the number of virtual machines in your compute farm, and as Brendan said, how often you run it and based on your consumption and the like, is a cost control factor that needs clear and capped intentional control being put in place on it. One of the biggest challenges with it, even with our own compute system, is making sure that as we utilize and we deal with that consumption portion, that you're controlling and managing your budget and your cost control around that. Okay, and we're looking at a lot of that. The other part of it is what are you hoping to do with that compute power, because that would also be a major cost control factor. If you're doing AutoCAD and you're doing loading lots of data and processing streams of information, and you're looking to do that in the cloud, you can 100% do it on super fast SSDs and everything. It's just going to cost a lot at this time, like today, right?
Where I would add to that too is think about cost, not just from your traditional cost, like your cost of the hardware, and your cost of the software and your cost of the cloud services. Because where a lot of businesses are moving, we're seeing huge investment in technology. since BC, and like we just see the levels just like across our client base. We see it's staggering how much people are investing in extra technology, and it's because the mindset is shifting from cost of let's save on hardware costs to okay, our biggest, especially professional services firms, but most firms, our biggest cost is people cost.
Yeah.
And so if I can save an hour to 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, based on doing X, Y, or Z in investment in technology, then I look at it like the simplest example is you have a professional services firm with a average bill rate of $150 an hour. So if you can save, if you have 10 employees and you can save an hour a week per employee, you're saving $1,500 a week.
Yeah.
So $6,000 a month, right? Yeah. $6,000 a month, $72,000 a year. If you can save an hour a week per person,
yeah,
and they can bill more, and then that sort of stuff, it doesn't take much in terms of the type of stuff we're talking about to save an hour a week.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you for that, David and Brendan.
Do we have, I think we got one more, let's do one more question.
Sure.
And then we'll sign off. Annie's got a question there about when we return to the office, our internet provider needs to be updated, increased. Does our internet provider need to be updated or increased now that we're using SharePoint and Teams? Very good question.
So that applies to everything you're going to be using virtually, cloud accessibility wise, whether it's a Windows Virtual Desktop, whether it's Teams, whether it's your Ring Central phones, right? Before COVID, it was, people had 2 or 3 devices on average that they would connect to the internet and use the network. Network segregation is important, but the short and most important answer is yes. Our recommendation for an office with, average size, call it 25 people, you're looking at 100 devices accessing the network at a minimum, taking information up and down. So the device count is 1 to 5 today. I've gone conservatively 1 to 4. When you look at that, and you look at the fact that everyone's reading documents online, reviewing stuff online, that internet connection needs to be strong and available. So the minimum we'd say for an office like that would be to have 100 parallel line, which means 100 download and 100 upload. Because download is great, but if you can't send documents out and everything gets locked up in the outgoing cache, then things are going to be slow for the people receiving your information from the other end. So 100 parallel is what you're looking for at a minimum. And yes, you should keep an eye on that.
So Jermaine, can I kind of give away a secret, like a little kind of secret sauce, something that we do on a regular basis? Okay. I just wanted to get permission before I did it.
Our non-secret secret sauce.
Yeah, it's going to be non-secret anymore. But hey, we want to give valuable recommendations. Here's what happens a lot with internet connections. You can go back as long as you're tracking when your renewal is. If it's an annual renewal every 3 years, you can go back to your internet provider and frequently get dramatically more bandwidth for very marginal increase or sometimes no increase in cost, because your internet provider, and obviously the best time to do this is renewal time, but your internet provider wants to keep you. You need more bandwidth. As time goes on, bandwidth gets cheaper. It's just like down in the States, it's way cheaper. Canada, it's gradually getting cheaper and taking more time up here.
Even my home internet, I'll tell you. I mean, I used to pay $150 for a gigabit line download with 50 upload at home. Yeah. Fast forward to in COVID, post COVID, or otherwise, I'm paying $57 all in. I'm not gonna say which carrier. I'm not advertising for anybody, but just because I phoned in, I was like, guys, this is so expensive. What's happening? And all of a sudden, taxes all in. It was pre-tax. The 150 was pre-tax. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and it just kind of went down. Availability is there. So look at your contracts. If you can get those reviewed annually or every 2 years or whatever you sign up for, look at them and just ask for stuff and it will be delivered. So just keep that in mind.
All right. So I just want to thank everybody for joining today. We appreciate it. We judge the effectiveness of these webinars based on continual attendance, and it's great to see such a high attendance on a regular basis. And it energizes Jermaine and I to do the work to create content and webinars and training and stuff like that. So we will continue to do that. Jermaine, thank you very much. This has been great. Thank you, everybody that's joined us.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.